Addiction. You think you don't have it? You couldn't be more wrong. People can become addicted to pretty much anything. Drugs, alcohol, shopping, gambling, video games, social media, sports, work, and even water. If someone tells you they're not an addict, they're most likely lying or are not aware of what addiction is. The reality is almost every single one of us is addicted to at least one behavior. We cannot give it up. We need to escape sometimes. We need that feeling of relief. Sometimes all we crave is not being ourselves for a short amount of time, a desire to get out of your own head. Addictions are incredibly powerful. We desire to escape from the darkness and discomfort of our own mind, therefore fall into them. A short-term release from suffering and pain which provides a sense of peace or calmness. We are uncomfortable with our lives and search for relief. We attempt to forget something. Our early traumas that are still with us, the anxiety and uncertainty of the future, for at least a short amount of time. Addictions are often about looking for forgetting, trying to escape your mind, desire to not be ourselves for a short amount of time. You get anxious, you start scrolling on your phone. Something terrible happens to a person, they fall into drinking. Someone may have been abused since they were a child and all they desired was to escape from the horrible world they lived in. Now, they're completely addicted to video games. Some people were treated unfairly as kids. They were outcasts, they didn't fit in with the crowd and had no power over anything. They became addicted to power. Napoleon, Stalin, and a couple others. Early traumas can sometimes shape our entire lives. We pursue things we don't need in the first place. There are three things people are extremely afraid of: death, others, and their own mind. Last one is perhaps their biggest fear. You would be surprised how hard we all try to escape our own mind. We don't want to stay alone with it. It's scary, isn't it? Addictions come in due to our desire to escape from the current moment. They falsely fill in our internal wounds for a short time, but then make us suffer in the long term. Addiction could be any behavior that gives you temporary relief but harms you in the long term. In the modern day, the moment many of us get anxious, we grab our phone. We feel lonely, we go on the internet. We feel that our current life is boring, we delve into the fictional worlds of cinema and video games. We can't give up certain behaviors that are surely negative in the long term. That's when you know you are addicted. We try hard to fill the emptiness inside with outside things. Addiction is all about escaping that emptiness. When you delve into that emptiness, when you're no longer scared of just being alone, when you've examined and conquered all the negative thoughts you have, that's when most of your little addictions will go away. You can never heal your internal wounds by distracting yourself with outside things. We all have that emptiness. Our entire lives can be based on trying to escape it. People who have been treated as outcasts as kids became addicted to power. People who were picked on for being poor became addicted to wealth, and people whose parents didn't really pay attention to them became addicted to fame. Addiction is a very wide-ranged phenomena. You can be addicted to a substance, a certain behavior, and even a certain emotion. Dr. Gabor Mate defines addiction as pretty much any behavior that a person finds relief from and craves in the short term, but suffers from in the long term. Although an addiction could come from a very large range of behaviors, the most common are the ones which create very large spikes in dopamine. Those are drugs, alcohol, sugar, and scrolling social media. Your addictions can largely be caused by the environment you grew up in. As we live, our brain develops a strong interaction with the environment. Our environment and early experiences shape the development of the brain. They also affect gene expression, which means that they affect a gene's instructions for creating proteins or other products that lead to growth and development. Environmental factors may affect child development differently depending on underlying individual genetic characteristics. Addictions and deep traumas caused by the early experiences in life influence us to pursue external goals and pleasure in an attempt to heal our internal wounds. It's important to understand that trauma is not what happens to you. Those are what called traumatic experiences. Trauma, on the other hand, is what happens inside of you, how you interpret the situation, and how it affects you and your future. Different traumas can disconnect us from ourselves, create difficulties in being in the present moment, alone in complete silence. A trauma could be formed from something as simple as your mother not giving you a lot of attention as a young child. Later in life, deep inside you may feel like you're not needed, and you'll attempt to escape from that feeling, not even understanding where it comes from. You see, addiction is not the main problem. The problem is the false attempt to solve your internal problems, a false attempt to heal your traumas and hide your anxiety, grief, or pain. The thing is, internal wounds can only be healed internally. No matter what you do in the outside world, the internal wounds will still remain. Addiction is not always a conscious choice. It's not like anyone wants to be an addict. Often the process of getting addicted to something happens unconsciously. Once we notice it, we are already addicted. It's an attempt to find short-term relief, which in reality is completely fake and mirage. This happens due to a misunderstanding of oneself. Addiction is in a way a response to human suffering in one's life, an attempt to at least temporarily escape the discomfort of your own thoughts, escape the suffering. We try to escape our deep emotional problems, not understanding how to solve them. Why do you think people are so addicted to their phones? It's the easiest way to quickly escape your own mind. Open up your phone, and here you are, mindlessly scrolling on TikTok. All the worries are temporarily gone. It's like magic, and we all get addicted to that. People get addicted to video games because once they are in that fictional world, all the real world traumas and worries disappear. For some time, they feel finally relieved. We all need to have the capacity to be with ourselves. In the modern world, this is much harder and harder to develop. We rarely have to be truly alone. There's almost always something to distract you. You have to be committed to the truth. You have to be your authentic self. It's permissible to escape reality sometimes, but you have to be fully comfortable alone. Consciously acknowledge all the traumas you have, understand what things have been influencing you to behave in a certain way. Then, let them go. Rewire what you think of them. If you consciously start recognizing your traumas, stop them from influencing you. With time, they will heal. I can't stop mentioning how important it is to be able to be alone. We cannot form proper, meaningful relationships until we have the full capacity to be alone. Alone is different from lonely. Alone is being by yourself. Lonely is feeling disconnected despite being surrounded by others. People cannot be alone. They are uncomfortable with themselves. So they delve into relationships and addictions to hide their internal problems and fill the emptiness inside of them. Remember, nobody and nothing can fill you from the outside. Take the responsibility of how you interpret the world from now on. Don't let the outside events affect you. The time you truly get rid of addiction is not when you successfully suppress it, but when you stop craving it.